The first time it happened, it felt like the world was caving in. The air in the room thickened, the walls seemed to close in, and the pounding in the chest was deafening. It was as if the body had decided without warning that something was terribly wrong, even though nothing was. Hands shook, breaths turned shallow, and a terrifying thought gripped the mind. Is this it? Am I dying? At first, there was no explanation, no warning signs, just sudden waves of fear, crashing in without mercy. Each attack left exhaustion in its wake, making the days feel heavier and the nights restless. The fear of it happening again became its own kind of prison. Avoidance became second nature. Crowded places, deep conversations, even joyful moments all felt like potential triggers. The worst part wasn't the attack itself, it was the fear of the next one. It became a shadow, lurking at the edges of every normal moment. Even on calm days, it whispered, "What if it happens now?" That constant unease turned simple things, like going out with friends or speaking up in a meeting, into overwhelming challenges. Life started shrinking, little by little. But then came a realization. This wasn't a life sentence. The mind wasn't the enemy, it was simply overwhelmed, trying to protect from a danger that wasn't real. And if it was powerful enough to create the panic, maybe it was powerful enough to stop it. It was time to take control. The first step was understanding. Instead of running from the fear, it was faced head-on. Books were read, research was done, and the science behind panic attacks was learned. The body wasn't shutting down, it was just overreacting. And just like it revved up, it could be calmed down. Breathing became the first tool. Deep, slow inhales through the nose, long exhales through the mouth. It felt ridiculous at first. How could something so simple fix something so intense? But over time, it worked. Each controlled breath was a signal to the body. You're safe. The panic didn't vanish overnight, but it started losing its grip. Then came exposure. Instead of avoiding fear, it was met with small, steady steps. A short trip to a busy cafe. A conversation that felt slightly uncomfortable. Pushing just enough to prove that fear was lying. Each small victory built confidence, and with every success, the panic lost another ounce of power. But the biggest change? Self-compassion. Instead of frustration, there was patience. Instead of shame, there was understanding. Anxiety wasn't a weakness, it was just an overactive alarm system. And like any alarm, it could be adjusted, rewired, and eventually quieted. Months passed, then years. The attacks, once suffocating, became rare, and when they did show up, they were handled differently, not with fear, but with acceptance. Because now there was proof. Panic wasn't permanent, it wasn't unbeatable, it was just a wave, and waves always pass. So if you're struggling, remember this. You are stronger than you think. It may feel impossible now, but step by step, breath by breath, you will take your life back. And one day, sooner than you expect, you'll look back and realize you made it through.